Now, I said I would do a top 5 summer baits river edition because I did that pond edition. So that's what this video is going to be about. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So a great bait to fish in the summer in a river is this size 7 jointed Rapala minnow. And it's really good, and especially a color like a shad color. And it's really good because it's nice and jointed, and it has a unique action. And what's great about this bait is you can make it, you can fish it on the top, you can fish it subsurface, you can fish it, put your rod tip down and make it dive a little bit deeper in the water. And if you're reeling it in and you stop, it floats to the top. And when fishing this, you want to cast against the current, so when you reel it in, that lure is coming back to you with the current, because it imitates a real bait fish, because bait fish don't go against the current, they go with it. And sometimes you can even just cast out and let it float. You can have it sit on the water and float back to you, and that'll imitate like a dead shad on top of the water, and that'll be a really easy meal for like a northern or a bass or a walleye or whatever that wants to come up and hit this. So usually in the summer I'm fishing for northern, but I like to fish for bass. I fish for everything, and but this is kind of more to your smallmouth, largemouth, northern, and walleye type of fisherman. So that's bait number 1. Now bait number 2 is the X-Rap, the Rapala X-Rap. Now you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between this and the minnow? Well, if you've ever seen these swim in the water, they swim just like a real shad. And if you've never seen a real shad, then a real shad swim, then I guess I can't really explain it. They kind of swim kind of like a snake, and that's what the X-Rap does. And so it really mimics a shad a lot better than what that does. But I like this because you can fish it all different depths of the water. Now this big lip, people might think, oh, that's going to dive real deep. X-Raps don't really dive that deep. Maybe a foot or two, maybe a little more. Especially when you're on a bridge, you fish them right under the water surface. And they swim just like a shad, kind of like in a snake, like I said earlier. And they have these feathered trebles. And, that I always think that it helped catch fish. I usually catch northern on these. I have caught a few bass, but mainly northern. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have teeth marks. There's teeth marks all over this X-Rap. That's what this X-Rap looks like, because I've caught so many northern on this that it's unbelievable. So, fish these around structure and with the currents and against banks and bridges and stuff like that, where you ever think a shad might be swimming. So that was bait number 2. Now bait number 3 also has to do with the shad. And these baits, a lot of people look over them. But these baits, they catch northern, bass, largemouth, smallmouth, crappie, bluegill. I've caught catfish on these things. This is a bait that catches fish, and that people look over quite a bit. And that's just a simple inline spinner. Now, what this inline spinner imitates is like a shad swim in groups. They really group up tight and they swim in groups, like schools, as you call them. But this little inline spinner mimics like a shad that has lost its school, like it's alone. And it even puts off a little bit of vibration, so if you have some dirty water, those fish can come in and find it. And that even tells the fish that this little shad imitation that they think is a shad or a bait fish, a minnow, whatever, is freaking out. It's because it's knowing that there is a predator behind it, and he's about to get eaten. So, and even in dirty water, find it. It puts off some flash, and this is a little better for a spinner bait in the rivers, just because it's a bit smaller. You can, big fish will still hit the smaller ones, and there's some with hair, and then there's just a plain treble hook. If you want to imitate shad, I go with this silver one. And if you want to imitate like something with flash or like in darker water, I'd go with this one right here. Just because it's got a little bit more brown in it and some hair, and that always helps catch fish. So just throw these, against a bank, in laydowns, just really anywhere where you see like a school of shad off to the distance. Maybe you see a school of shad on the bank. You might want to cast out a little bit farther and imitate that shad that has lost its school. So that was bait number 3. Now you might be wondering, you have 3 hard baits and no soft plastic. You only have 2 baits left. Well, here come the soft plastics. I have 2 soft plastics that work great in the summer with rivers. And one is a swim bait. These are, they imitate those bigger bait fish, so you can catch some of those bigger fish. You can get some of these, I like these white shad ones. They imitate a real good shad. Those are pre-rigged. And then, of course, my favorite swim bait of all. I have in like a watermelon red flake. Good for like a little more clear water and kind of like a bait fish that has a little more hint to it. Mainly if you find let's say a shad or like a dead bluegill or something, you really want to match the hatch with that. Maybe the bluegill or the shad's got a little bit more darker scales to it. You might want to throw something like this, If it's really white and bright, you might want to throw something like this, So really with swim baits, it's really just match the hatch. So, just throw what you think a bait fish will look like that time of year. And with the bait fish, they're really, they swim in schools again. You can't explain it enough. The shad swim in schools. And this will imitate a bigger bait fish that might have wandered off from its school and think that it's a big enough predator to attack other fish. But it's not, because a northern or a largemouth or smallmouth, a big old crappie or something will come and hit this and attack it. So, fish swim baits, just anywhere, along laydowns, banks. I like to fish these swim baits. All swim baits really against a bridge or cast to a laydown and bring it back to me. That's what I like to do because it imitates that fish staying. But if casting it by the bridge, it imitates that fish staying close to covered, and bringing it back is saying, okay, it's going to go out deeper water. It's going to get a better strike zone for that fish behind it. And the final bait, the 5th bait, is going to be a craw. Craws in the summer, especially in small streams and right below a dam, craws are moving, they're moving around constantly. And what a great way to rig this craw. A craw is on a Texas rig or a wobblehead, which I have right here. Now I'm just going to rig this up real quick. And you really just want to fish this bait. Really, we're on the bottom, next to rocks. Just really where you see any crawfish, because that's what you're going to imitate. But mainly around rocks, that's where crawfish hang out. And when you fish this bait, this is going to imitate that craw in its defense position with its pinchers up. It'll be sitting up on the rocks like this. Those pinchers will be flapping in the water, kind of like a real crawfish. They'll kind of strike, acting like they're going to attack, trying to save themselves from being eaten by a giant smallmouth or a big northern or something. So those were my top 5 lures for the river in the summer. Now, my channel will not just be one species of fish. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to have northern carp, bluegill, crappie, rock bass, largemouth, smallmouth, catfish, maybe even a few carp and suckers here and there. I fish for pretty much anything. And I like to fish for northern a lot. And in the summer with rivers, is one of my favorite times to fish for northern. So if you're a northern fisherman, I'm just gonna add this in real quick for you. Really, anything for northern in the summer with the river, anything with a really big kicking tail, like a devil's spear. You know, that's like one whole tail. And what I like about the devil's spear, you can put on a jig head, Texas rig, fish it however you want, swim bait, hook. But what I like about the Texas rig is you can rig it like this, nice and flat, and that tail will be flapping up and down. Or you can rig it like this, and that tail will be flapping side to side. So you can rig it several different ways with that devil spear. And if you catch a few fish on one way, you might want to change to the other way it flaps its tail, just so you can catch more fish. And then really, finally, anything with really a big kicking tail, like these swimming dingers. Yum's version of the Senko, but it's a swimming, so it's got a tail on the end of it. It's a very big tail for that size of Senko. Or what I got here, I have a giant grub. This thing is massive. You know, I throw these on a 5/0 hook just because I can't throw these with a 1 or 2/0. It's just way too big. And you want a 5/0 so that hook gets all the way back here. Because if a smaller northern or smaller bass or something is gonna come up and follow it, it might hit the tail and you might set the hook, and it's gonna rip it off. It's gonna tear it to shreds because your hook is way up here. But the good thing about this, use a 5/0 hook, have the hook all the way down here, and just swim it, hop it on the bottom, do whatever you want with it, and that's going to eliminate a lot of your smaller fish, so you have a more successful day for bigger fish on the water. So there you go, guys. That's it. Those are my top 5 summer lures in the river. I live in Iowa, and the rivers right now are just absolutely terrible. I don't know about anywhere else, but the rivers right now are so high and so dirty. I ain't even river fishing. I haven't gone river fishing yet this year, pretty much. I've gone like twice. I've been just pond fishing, so, but hopefully the rivers go down and I can start catching some northern, because I really like to catch northern, and I've only caught one this year, and we're, almost in July, 2 days away from July, so that's what it is. Those are my top 5 baits, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope this video helps you guys out on the water, and hope you catch more and bigger fish. As always, like and subscribe if you want more videos and more tips, and yeah, thanks for watching, and hope you catch some fish.